Hey guys, welcome in. Today, I want to talk about water. I'm going to do a quick guide on it. I've seen a lot of people ask me in my chat. I've seen a lot on Reddit, just a lot of conversation. And it made me remember, it's pretty tough on you early game if you really don't know how to get water and suddenly you hop into iron steel phase and you're just, the demand for water just keeps climbing. So, I'm going to show you what to avoid and what to focus on kind of early, mid, and late game as we move like more to an automation passive Windtrap late game. You don't want to go directly to that. There's something more, focused mid game you can do. So let's jump into it. Now we're just on day 2, for example, with a group of friends. And if you're playing with a group of friends, you are going to need a lot of water, but you're going to need it in huge amounts, like big bursts in short windows. So harvesting is kind of going to be our mid game focus. I'm going to show you where to build, how to harvest, and how you slide into that from early game so that you can just come in here and dump huge amounts. If you want to make multiple vehicles, jump from sand bikes to buggies to ornithopters pretty quickly, this is exactly what you're going to need because metal's not really going to be your problem. As a quick review, our different ways of harvesting are blood. That is our first option we really get introduced to. You have to collect blood, draw it from corpses, put it in a processor, and then it's converted to water. These steps take time. Kind of the biggest hindrance here I find is that it fills up your inventory and it starts to really weigh you down. You're going to need multiple blood bags early on, quite a few of them. And then later you can get this one, but this one is quite heavy. It just kind of becomes a pain, even with the improved blood purifier. We used it, but maybe for like an hour or two. I moved on to the Deathstill. We'll get to that one second, because really as you move out of South Haga Basin, your focus should be getting a Dew Reaper. You can craft these, not too tough if you can get iron real fast. Silicone block just takes flower sand, and flower sand you can harvest your first bit with, by hand, or you can do the main story quest. There's a couple ways to go about this. Let's hop over to a map and look at it. You can come up here and do the main story quest right when you come out of South Haga Basin. And from there, you'll already have a compactor. You can get more flower sand. Up to you if you want. If you easily want to get a Dew Reaper, just go here and buy one early on. As soon as you get into here, you want to be harvesting. Now, harvesting is going to require you to get Literjons. Literjons just take copper, which is great. You really want to harvest as much copper as you can coming out, but as you upgrade and get better cut arrays, and you always want to upgrade your cut arrays as quickly as possible. The more you upgrade them, the more efficiently they cut, the more return you get. So cutting copper, you get more and more as you upgrade. And in this case, it's going to allow you to make Literjons. What I've done, and what you'll eventually get to, is making better Literjons. This one, for example, holds 10,000, and I have 10 of these in inventory. They're pretty heavy, but I can fill this up in just a minute or two and come back to base with 100,000 milliliters. This is going to be our goal for mid game. Before we do that, let's discuss our other 2 options. We have the Fremen Deathstill, and then we also have Windtraps. Windtraps are kind of going to be late game, or you start working them in later in the mid game. In both cases, they're here. These cost steel. We built Fremen Deathstills pretty early. I rushed ahead and did the main story quest. We unlocked these. We had like 2. You can bring bodies back to base. You just put them in here, and we still run them because it's easy to just kind of load a box with dead bodies, and every hour you just kind of toss them in there. They're about to be done in 50 seconds here, and yeah, now we have the advanced Fremen Deathstill. So they're definitely worth building. Your most passive water supply, though, is ultimately going to be Windtraps, and they'll fulfill all your needs in late game. So let's show on the map kind of how we move from coming out of Haga Basin, picking up the Dew Reaper, and what that looked like on day 1 for me. So early game is pretty much just Haga Basin, and I'd say, early stages of settling here in Iron. Now, when you come into Vermilius, where you pick to locate and build up does matter. If you're by yourself, it's not as big deal. I think if you're with a group of friends, it's definitely more important to try to get somewhere up here. It's just a better location. Most people do settle right here. It's at the tip of, there's an iron mine here. So there's a ton of iron. It's up high on rocks and such. But the other great thing is you're going to need steel right after this, and you can get that over here. It's carbon ores right over here. So it's very easy to just build up iron and steel. The thing is, you're going to need a lot of steel because you're going to end up building a lot of these wind traps. Like, if you get a good production facility going here, you end up getting like 20 of these or something. You plop them down here. And this is not going to be your only base, likely. You're going to build one eventually in the deep desert, and you're going to need enough supplies to go in there and drop another 20 wind traps. So getting a good base somewhere up here is good. In the beta, for example, I built down here, just knowing that there was a good immediate water supply. You want something with flowers nearby. The problem with building somewhere over here is it's hard to then go get carbon. It's hard to go get aluminum and bring them all the way back here. Having something somewhere up here is good. This area is all quicksand, so crossing here from any of these points makes it pretty tough, and you still want to be able to cross later with a buggy. Once you get an ornithopter, it's nice to fly over, but the buggy is still very useful, especially for carrying aluminum, because aluminum is extremely heavy. And the paths to get aluminum are easy from here. We go up here, or we go up here. Generally, people use this road. This is kind of the main road up into this area, and aluminum is going to be all around up here. Okay, or eventually you can also build, maybe some base up here by the edge of the map, and there's different options, but ultimately you still want this base here. This is very important to have here, and I'll show you. There's kind of the best centralized location and water spot right over here. We'll show that in a minute. Before I show locations, I just wanted to let people know how the Coriolis storms work and such with resources. When the Coriolis storm comes, I think it's been shared and well known by a lot of players. Resources get washed out and moved around. That happens in the deep desert, as they've said. It happens here in Haga Basin as well. All the resources will get kind of moved around. It's not a big deal. Like granite might not be here, it might be over here now. Just kind of move things around. But what doesn't move is water. Water is kind of static. It has to remain because it's in very specific spots. It's like built under coves, and it's designed to be in certain parts that have shade that aren't just always in the sun. So it's good to know if you're trying to build a base to find one somewhere near water. That's going to help a lot. There's especially a few, like there's some water down here I used and some here. But up here had some of the best water spots that I kind of know of. I placed fiefs here as I started to have some people that started to try to move in on the area, so it couldn't be taken. So let's pop over there and see what that looks like. So this one's just a hop again across the sand as they're drawn on the map. And another tip is there are optimal times to farm. So if you press T, you can see the map up there. It will show you as it flips time, and you can see what's coming is the optimal window. The optimal window is kind of where that blue comes in, and then there's even a tinier little blue, and that's where it's gonna, kind of not be optimal anymore. So optimal's approaching, and as it gets here, that's when you want to fire, because right now it's just before it. So if we harvest, we're getting poor due harvest time, as it says on the right. But now we just hit optimal harvest. So now we can start to fill our tank here. So this is what a really good pool looks like. Again, we have enough Literjons to fill 100,000. So you'll come in here and you can do a full pool. And there's also some other extra water spots nearby here. Now, not all are like this. This is probably the best spot in the central location that I found, at least. On the east side of the map, the far east side, there's some good pools just like this one here, but nobody really builds over here, and it's very hard to have a main base over there. You could fly over there, if you were trying to get, say, 200,000 water a night. You could have a friend fly there, and you're here. You can actually pull more than 100K from this area. But you'll get at least that with this tool, and you could get a better tool. It's also worth noting you can put points into your planetologist. So there's dew gathering. I have 1 point in here for 10%, but we could knock this up to say 20%. Here comes somebody moving through our dew field, which is, again, why I did build a fief. It's not locked, but if people keep kind of taking the dew here, you probably could build around this. I'm not saying you should. I'm just, saying that's the reality of the situation, that it can be built upon, and water does function that way. It's not going to move. It's going to stay right here. So even after a Coriolis storm comes, it'll be here. But again, there are other spots in this location. There's one just south of here we could look at. Here's one of our neighbors that started taking some of our water. At least I feel it's our water. There's little fields here, but there's another big one over this way. And this is what maxed out Bindu Sprint feels like, by the way. But down here we have sometimes these kind of bug out and they don't show glowing. But there we go. We already filled up our Literjons, and we can now drink them as well. I usually do this. I top off in the evening as well, because it's very nice to have extra hydration, especially with the Swordmaster passives. You get a lot of stamina, and you can do things like Bindu Sprint forever. It's great in combat as well. It just makes moving around and traveling a lot easier. But in any event, that right there, that haul, that nets us 100,000 water, just like that. And you can pull that per night. Now, it's worth noting, again, the water's not shared. This is between everybody. So this water isn't, I can't harvest 100K and someone else can't harvest 100K as well from the same spot. It's shared amongst everybody. So be aware of that if this video kind of catches a little fire, spots like that, which probably is the better of centralized spots, it's going to be in high demand. But there are little pockets. There's a nice pocket here. What I would suggest is scouting out in these areas. As you get up here, you're not going to find those pockets anymore. There's water to go, but you'll have to travel forward a little bit. I'm not so sure about over here. I didn't scout this way, but that could be nice too. These are easy access points to get any metal that you need, because the buggy, you're still going to use the buggy for harvesting, and you should. If you don't know, it's nice again to travel with an ornithopter, but I only really use it to go down into the rift in the later part of the game. Otherwise, I still use the buggy. The buggy has really efficient yields. If you haven't looked, like this is an MK5 cutter array, and this pulls, say, 255 iron. If you go into your handheld cutter arrays, you're going to see the yields are something like 104. So it's just not as efficient. And also the buggy gets a very large trunk. My buggy holds 2750. That's a Mark V unique buggy. So you can take that thing, go fill it up with a ton of aluminum. That's what's really important about the buggy, is it can go get you a lot of aluminum. You haul it all back, and you can process a ton of aluminum with that. So there you have it. This is what it will end up looking like after a bit. We don't get here right away, but we don't really have water problems here at this point. We're not constrained by it at all. It becomes how much metal can we get from our travels. But you just got to move up from Dew Reaper and let this facilitate you all the way through your iron and your steel phase. And rather than spend a lot of time continuously making steel to fuel a bunch of Deathstills and Windtraps, get a base like this, focus on harvesting water at that time and getting an area to yourself, hopefully not contested, or one maybe that you can lock in, and then you start farming aluminum and getting one of these early. This is what the tool we were using to harvest with. And then these decal Literjons, these aren't too tough to get. You need to get insulated fabric from the Udham or whatever. That's not really a tough farm, but all this takes aluminum. But some of your early aluminum you can use for this in conjunction with, you're obviously going for an ornithopter when you get aluminum, and I would recommend getting that as quickly as possible. But these two are definitely things you want to get at, and then you can really start hauling big amounts of water very easily. And if this area is taken and you want to do something like I showcased, again, you can come over to the east side and there are pools available over here. But that's pretty much all I have. Good luck in setting up your water farm. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. Happy to answer them. I'll be doing more guides, information on Dune Awakening as we continue, especially on class skills and stuff. I'm looking forward to doing that and builds, and I hope to see you back for the next ones. Take it easy. I'll see you then.